My name is Isadora Vale. I was 30 years old when I learned that being forgotten by someone you love does not always happen all at once. Sometimes it happens in tiny cancellations. Soft apologies. And empty chairs across restaurant tables, until one night, you finally stop pretending it is an accident. My boyfriend said, "Seriously, you're mad. I forgot our date night, after standing me up for the third time." I said, "Not mad. Just reminded." Then, I made sure he would never treat my time like background noise again. I sat at Enzo's for an hour and 20 minutes last Friday. I had a reservation for 7. Ordered 1 glass of wine, and told the waiter my boyfriend was running late. By 8:20, I paid for the wine, tipped generously for occupying the table, and walked out without sending angry texts, without calling him 12 times, without asking where he was. I just went home. At 11:30, Zayn texted me, "Baba. Just saw the dinner text. Was that Petra's birthday thing? You still up?" I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I was surprised. That was the worst part. I was not surprised anymore. I replied, "No worries. Sleep well." The next morning, he showed up at my apartment with coffee and pastries. His version of an apology. His version of putting a ribbon over a crack in the wall. "I'm so sorry about last night," he said. Stepping inside like charm could unlock anything. Petra surprised us with this whole escape room thing. And I totally lost track of time. You know how I am with my phone when I'm having fun. "It's fine," I said. Taking the coffee, he paused. "You're not mad?" "Nope." He studied my face, like he was searching for the argument he had prepared for. "You sure you seem off?" "I'm sure. These things happen. And here is the thing. They did happen. Specifically, they had happened twice before, in the past 2 months. Our anniversary dinner. He forgot, because his coworker invited him to a wine tasting, concert tickets. I had bought months in advance. He double-booked a spa day with his mother. Each time, the same pattern. Forgot. Apologized with treats. Smiled like a wounded puppy. I forgave him. The cycle continued, but the third time felt different. Not because I was angrier. Because I finally saw the pattern clearly. I was not a priority. I was a calendar item that could be bumped. "So, we're good?" he asked. Already scrolling through his phone. "Yeah," I said. "We're good." He smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "You're the best." "Oh. Sienna's having a thing next Friday. But I'll try to keep it short so we can hang after." Next Friday was our standing date night. It had been for over a year. Every Friday. Unless discussed in advance. We had plans. Movies. Dinner. Even just takeout at home. It was our thing. Or, at least, I had thought it was. "Actually," I said, "let's talk about Friday date nights." He looked up from his phone. "What about them?" "I think we should cancel them." His face shifted through several expressions. Confusion first. Then, suspicion. Then offense. "Cancel our date nights." "Why? They don't seem to be working with your schedule." "Too much pressure trying to remember them every week." "Babe." I said I was sorry. "You can't punish me forever for a few mistakes." "I'm not punishing you. I'm adapting to reality. You have a busy social life." "That's fine. Let's remove the obligation." He set down his phone completely. First time that morning. "I don't want to cancel date nights," he said. Sometimes things come up. Things always come up for you. That's okay. Some people aren't calendar people. I'm totally a calendar person. Look." He showed me his phone calendar. Full of brunches, parties, gym classes, work events, birthdays, dinners, and random plans with friends. No Friday date nights marked. "Interesting." I said. "What?" "Nothing. Just interesting." He left that morning confused but seemingly relieved. No big fight. No screaming. No slammed door. Just a clean little resolution he thought he had survived. That night, I updated my Google Calendar. I removed all our Friday date nights. Then I added something new. Every Friday. 7:10 p.m. Personal development time. Unavailable. Then I did something else. I joined a cooking class that met every Friday at 7. A 12-week course. Paid in advance. The next Friday came. My phone started buzzing around 6. Zane, hey babe. Sienna's thing is super boring. Want to grab dinner? I replied. Can't tonight. Have plans. Plans with who? Cooking class starts at 7. Cooking class. Since when? Since last week. It's every Friday. But Friday is our night. We canceled that. Remember, too much pressure with your schedule. I didn't think you were serious. I thought you were just upset about Enzo's. I was serious. Have fun with Sienna. He called. I did not answer. I was in class. Learning how to make pasta from scratch. Flour on my hands. My phone face down beside a bowl of dough that required more attention than he had given me in weeks. He texted throughout the evening. This is so petty. I can't believe you're ignoring me. Fine. Whatever. Have fun with your cooking. Actually, it's kind of hot that you're learning to cook. Will you make me dinner tomorrow? Hello. When class ended, I replied once. Class was great. Tired now. Talk tomorrow. He showed up at my apartment that night. I was already expecting it. You can't just replace me with a cooking class, he said. The second I opened the door, I'm not replacing you. I'm using my Friday nights for something reliable. I'm reliable. I pulled out my phone and showed him my text history. 3 months of running late. Sorry. Forgot. Rain check. Omega. Totally spaced. He looked away. That's not fair, he said. You're keeping score. No, I said. I'm keeping receipts. There's a difference. He stared at my phone for another second before trying a completely different approach. His shoulders relaxed. His voice softened. I'll do better, he said quietly. I promise. Just cancel the class. We'll have amazing Friday nights again. I shook my head. The class is non-refundable. Besides, I'm enjoying it. You're being ridiculous. I waited. Then he said exactly what I had expected. Normal girlfriends would just be happy. Their boyfriend actually wants to spend time with them. There it was. Not guilt. Not accountability. Entitlement. I smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. You're right, I said. A normal girlfriend probably would. He looked hopeful. Good thing. I continued. You don't have one of those anymore. His expression hardened. He grabbed his jacket and walked toward the door. You've changed. No, I answered calmly. I'm finally behaving like someone whose time matters. He left without another word. I knew his pattern almost as well as he knew mine. He would storm away. He would expect me to chase him. He would wait for my apology. Then he would generously forgive me for making him upset. Except this time, nobody chased anyone. The only thing I chased every Friday evening was a better risotto. By the second week of class, I had mastered fresh pasta. By the third, homemade sauces. Our instructor insisted cooking required patience more than talent. Funny, so did healthy relationships. I posted a photo of one dish on Instagram. No caption, just the finished plate. Zane liked it almost immediately. Then he commented, "Save me some." I ignored it. That Friday, he tried something different. I was halfway through chopping shallots when I heard my name. Isadora. I looked toward the entrance. There he was, smiling, holding flowers. Surprise, he announced proudly. Thought I'd join you. The instructor looked between us. I'm sorry, she said politely. Registration closed 2 weeks ago. This course is full. But I'm her boyfriend. He said it as though it should unlock every door. Unfortunately, she replied. Everyone attending has already paid for the full program. He looked at me. Aren't you going to say something? I simply shrugged. I signed up when there were openings. His smile disappeared. You seriously won't let me join? I can't change class policy. He stood there another few moments before finally walking outside. When class ended nearly 3 hours later, I found him leaning against my car. You actually waited. For 3 hours. Nobody asked you to. I was trying. No. I corrected gently. You were making a point. He folded his arms. I cleared my whole night. For me? Yes. I smiled faintly. I had plans. His eyebrows lifted. So I kept them. His frustration became visible. When did you become like this? Like what? So consistent. The word sounded almost insulting. So reliable. Another pause. So present for your own commitments. I laughed quietly. I've always wanted to be. He rubbed the back of his neck. Fina. His voice became lighter. Keep your cooking class. Then, inspiration struck him. But Saturdays? What about them? Saturdays are ours now. You're free. Gym in the morning. Afternoon wide open. I considered it. Why not? Okay. I said, Saturday afternoons. His face brightened. I knew you'd come around. No. I had simply become curious. Would Saturdays matter any more than Fridays? Spoiler. They didn't. The first Saturday. He texted at noon. Sorry. Stayed out too late Friday. Terrible headache. Rain check. The second Saturday. His sister needed an emergency shopping partner. Apparently, nobody else in the city could help her choose shoes. The third Saturday. Nothing. No message. No apology. Nothing until almost 8 that evening. Oh my. I completely forgot. Each Saturday, I quietly made other plans. Lunch with friends I'd ignored for too long. Art museums. Zane always called boring. Long walks through weekend markets. Bookstores. Coffee shops. Cooking experiments at home. The strangest part wasn't that I enjoyed them. It was realizing how much of myself I had quietly set aside, while waiting for someone else's availability. Meanwhile, his texts became increasingly emotional. Why aren't you fighting for us? Do you even want this relationship anymore? I feel like you're slipping away. I answered honestly. I'm exactly where I've always been. A minute later I added, you're just finally noticing because you stopped showing up. He didn't respond for hours. Then came what I later called his nuclear option. One Monday afternoon, he made a public Facebook post. When you're trying so hard to save your relationship, but your girlfriend cares more about cooking classes than spending time with you. Broken heart emoji. Trying my best. Why are women like this? Within minutes, the comments exploded. His friends comforted him. Some people called me selfish. Others said I was probably seeing someone else. Several mutual friends stayed completely silent. That silence told me everything. I didn't argue. I didn't comment. Instead, I remembered something. Weeks earlier, when he insisted he was a calendar person, he had proudly shown me his monthly schedule. Before handing the phone back, I had taken a screenshot because I thought it perfectly explained our relationship. Now it became evidence. I uploaded one simple post. Interesting perspective. Then I attached his calendar. 23 social events. Birthday dinners. Sports nights. Gym classes. Weekend trips. Happy hours. Work mixers. Family lunches. Exactly 0 planned dates with me. Below the screenshot I wrote only one sentence. Notice anything missing? I closed the app. When I checked again an hour later, our mutual friends had already figured it out. Wait. He literally scheduled everything, except his relationship. No wonder Isadora stopped waiting. I've canceled plans because Zane invited me out before. Didn't realize he never did that for her. This is actually embarrassing. Someone else commented. She didn't expose you. She exposed your priorities. My phone rang. Zane. The second I answered, he was shouting, take it down. Why? You're humiliating me. I'm sharing your calendar. You knew exactly what people would think. They're thinking what your schedule already says. You're twisting everything. No. I spoke as calmly as I had that night at Enzo's. I'm providing context. There's a difference. Silence. Heavy breathing. Then the call disconnected. 15 minutes later, his Facebook post disappeared. I left mine online for another hour. Long enough. Then I deleted it too. I wasn't interested in winning. Only in ending the false narrative. By week 6 of cooking class, something unexpected happened. I wasn't counting how many Fridays had passed anymore. I was too busy living them. My sauces became smoother. My confidence became quieter. Friends started asking when I would cook again. I began hosting tiny dinner parties in my apartment. Nothing fancy. Just 6 people, around one table, sharing homemade food. They laughed, stayed late, helped wash dishes. Nobody looked at their phone every 3 minutes. Nobody forgot they had promised to come. Zane wasn't invited. Not because I wanted revenge. Because he had never seemed interested in this version of me. The woman who created instead of waited. One Friday evening, while I was preparing ingredients before class, my phone vibrated. "Can we talk? Please." I stared at the screen, then replied, "Class ends at 10. If it's important." "Wait." His answer came immediately. "I will." When I arrived home after class that night, Zane was sitting on the steps outside my apartment, for the first time in months. He didn't look frustrated. He looked tired, smaller somehow, like someone who had spent too long carrying an expectation that no longer worked. "I missed you today," he said quietly, as I unlocked the front door. "Today specifically," he nodded. "Fridays feel wrong now." I paused. "What do you mean?" "I keep reaching for my phone around 6, thinking you'll text me about dinner." He laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Then I remember you're not waiting anymore." I invited him inside, not because everything was suddenly okay, because conversations deserve chairs instead of sidewalks. I put a kettle on. He stood in the kitchen looking around, as though he hadn't really seen my apartment before. "You changed this place." I had time. There was new artwork from weekend markets, shelves filled with cookbooks, healthy green plants thriving near the windows, a larger dining table that actually got used now. The apartment felt warmer, not because of decorations, because I had finally started living in it instead of treating it like a waiting room. He watched me pour tea. "I've been making plans for Fridays," he admitted. "Then, remembering you already have yours?" "How does that feel?" He answered immediately. "Empty." I handed him a mug. "Yeah." He looked into the tea instead of at me. "I think that's how you felt." I didn't answer, he continued. "I got used to you always organizing everything. Reservations, movie tickets, anniversaries, weekend trips. You reminded me, you planned ahead. You always checked whether I was free." I did. And eventually, I stopped checking. His voice cracked slightly. "I just assumed you'd always be there." I leaned against the counter. "You scheduled me in your life." He whispered. "What?" He unlocked his phone. My name filled every Friday evening for the next several months. "Date night with Isadora. Do not book anything else." "When did you do this?" 3 weeks after your calendar post." "You've kept them empty." He nodded. "Every Friday." I smiled sadly. "Unfortunately, Fridays belong to my cooking class." "I know." He swallowed. "I thought maybe if I showed you." "Showed me what?" "That I can change." "I never doubted you could use a calendar." His shoulders dropped. "I doubted whether I mattered enough for you to use it." Silence settled over the room. Not uncomfortable, just honest. Finally he asked, "So, what happens now?" "I don't know. I want Fridays back." I looked at him carefully. "I want to matter enough that you'll skip class." I couldn't help smiling. "I skipped 23 events for you." His eyes fell. "I know. I won't break commitments I've made." Another long pause. "Not for someone who spent months breaking ours." He nodded. No argument, no dramatic speech, no accusation. When he left that night, he simply said, "I understand." And for the first time, I believed he actually did. The remaining weeks of cooking class passed faster than I expected. Every Friday I learned something new. Fresh seafood, slow braises, complex sauces, desserts that required more patience than confidence. Outside the kitchen, my life kept expanding. The monthly dinner parties became a tradition. Friends brought desserts. Someone always stayed behind to help clean. People began introducing other friends. My world quietly grew larger. Occasionally, Zane would send a message. "Good luck tonight. Hope the risotto turns out. Congratulations on finishing sauce week." Nothing demanding, nothing manipulative, just present. Then week 12 arrived. Our final assignment. Each student would prepare a complete meal for invited guests. I invited 2 friends from my hiking group. After class ended, we laughed over dinner, while the instructors handed out certificates. As I walked home carrying mine, my phone buzzed. Congratulations. Proud of you. I smiled before answering. Thank you. Another message appeared. So, what's next? Not sure yet. A minute passed. Then, maybe Fridays. I stopped walking. 12 weeks earlier, I would have answered immediately. Now, I took my time. I'll think about it. The following Friday was the first one without class. For the first time in months, my evening was completely open. I deliberately left it that way. Not because I was waiting, because I wanted to discover what waiting no longer felt like. At exactly 5 o'clock, my phone lit up, still thinking, yes, I kept tonight free. What did you have in mind? Anything. Then another message. Your choice. I smiled. No. You plan it. Several minutes passed. Then, okay, give me an hour. At 6:30, he texted an address. A restaurant. Not just any restaurant. The little Italian place I had mentioned wanting to visit almost 8 months earlier. He had remembered. When I arrived at 7, he was already there. 15 minutes early. Reading the novel I had recommended months before, he stood as soon as he saw me. You're here. So are you. I wanted to make sure we didn't lose the reservation. It sounded like such a simple sentence, yet somehow it carried the weight of an apology much larger than the words themselves. Dinner was comfortable. He kept his phone face down, asked questions about everything I had learned, wanted to know how fresh pasta differed from dried, wanted recipes, wanted stories. He listened instead of waiting for his turn to speak. When dessert arrived, he looked nervous. So, what now? I folded my napkin. Now we see whether tonight was a performance or a habit. He nodded. Fair. What are your rules? No rules. Then what? Consistency. He waited. Show up when you say you will. Value our time, the way you value everyone else's. Remember that relationships aren't built during apologies. They're built before they're needed. He took a slow breath. I can do that. We'll see. For 3 weeks, he did. He arrived early. He confirmed plans. He communicated. Then, life happened. One Wednesday, he texted me. Lena's hosting a farewell dinner Friday. I already told her, I have plans with you. Would Thursday work instead? I looked at the message for a long time. Not because he wanted to reschedule, because he asked before committing, because he respected my time enough to ask. That was progress. No, we didn't suddenly become the perfect couple. We're still figuring things out. We never moved back in together. We each kept our own homes. I kept hosting dinner parties. The cooking class became a monthly supper club with friends. Sometimes, Zane comes. Sometimes he can't. The difference is simple now. When he doesn't show up, I don't spend the evening staring at my phone. I still cook. I still laugh. I still eat. Because somewhere between homemade pasta and 12 consecutive Fridays, I remembered something I should never have forgotten. I was always worth showing up for. With or without a boyfriend sitting across the table. Zane didn't learn through punishment. He learned through experience. He finally understood what it felt like to look forward to someone who wasn't coming. And I learned something even more important. The best response to being forgotten isn't revenge. It isn't louder arguments. It isn't making someone jealous. Sometimes it's quietly becoming someone whose life keeps moving forward. 6 months later, we're still taking things slowly. He's better now. Not perfect. No one is, but he shows up far more often than he used to. Around 80% of the time, and when he can't, he tells me before I start waiting. I've kept my boundaries. I've kept my own schedule. I've kept the version of myself that flourished after I stopped sitting alone at restaurant tables hoping someone else would remember my worth. Because it turned out I never needed Zane to remember date night. I needed to remember that my own life deserved the same commitment I had spent years giving everyone else. Sometimes people really do change, but only after they experience the emptiness they once left behind. And sometimes, the person they almost lost is no longer waiting exactly where they left her.